Okay, greetings everybody. Welcome to week 10. Hope everybody had a happy 4th of July. A lot of background. You're gonna need to do a lot of background reading this week. There are just so much material on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as an implementation of blockchain technology. So this week the research paper is particularly about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as you compare and contrast. So I hope you all find this topic interesting. I'm fascinated, but as I've said before, I'm biased. I'm kind of a cryptocurrency doubter. So we'll get started. Um, we'll just do a little bit of historical overview, historical perspective on commodities and commodity trading and booms and busts and whatnot. Then we'll talk a little bit about what's going on with Bitcoin today, and then I'll go over the instructions for this week's paper. Shouldn't be too tough. There's an awful lot of material out there. Okay, so a little history. Um, we've had um, we've had commodities that if you're not a commodity is anything that can be used or something tangible um, that there's a limited supply of. Um, Normally, it's associated with crops, orange juice, wheat futures, corn, oil, things like that. But it can also, it can be extended to almost anything. Um, so, like a house, and the stock market isn't really a commodity. It's really a representation of ownership, of partial ownership of something tangible. But anyway, so we'll just talk about some other booms and busts since that seems to be as far as cryptocurrency is concerned, that is sort of the latest thing to look at as far as speculative trading of cryptocurrency and actually using them in transactions, which is what you'll write about this week. So in the past, we've had speculation and huge um, changes in the perceived value of things that have caused some real trouble. Make sure you check out the slides for this presentation. There are links in the speaker notes for this particular slide um, that illustrate the craziness of all this. So we had the dot com bubble um, back when most of you were young. There was huge speculation. Remember the internet really became usable. It came on the radar of the general public right around 1995. There were a few early adopters in '94, but the World Wide Web and a web browser of any sort, and it was a company called AOL, America Online, that really launched internet use um, in America and made it really accessible with a network of modem banks that you could call in. But you had limited amount of access time. It was terrible speed, and they limited the amount of time you could be connected to a modem. And then if you were inactive, they'd kick you off, things like that. So, but when the internet hit, the World Wide Web hit, the number of applications, the things that we could do became obvious to a bunch of people, and there were companies scrambling on .com startups, scrambling all over the place for investor dollars. Some of them made uh, huge amounts of money in gathering in equity, investor equity, and disappeared. Others stuck around. Some of the names I remember that were big that still are like Cisco and Microsoft, Oracle. Um, but the on par, on average, it was pretty huge, and the bubble burst in the fall of '99, and a lot of companies never recovered. But eventually, stock prices recovered, and we moved on. Um, and then, so that was '99. So yeah, 7 years later, we don't learn our lesson, and people start speculating on houses. And if you've watched The Big Short, that movie, The Big Short, they kind of go into a little bit about the weakness of the underlying um, architecture infrastructure of the investments of in housing. People were buying houses as if everyone, especially in Florida, I'm from Florida, owned a home in Florida when this crisis hit. Actually, just I bought it just at the wrong time. Sold one at the right time, bought one at the wrong time. I guess it all evens out. But yeah, the speculation and then the other problem is that lenders were lending money um, without sound financial backing, both in the worth of the house and in the trustworthiness of the lender. And as the character played by Christian Bale spelled out in The Big Short, it all became obvious, more or less overnight. And sell, 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 and boom, there's your bust cycle. But this is not new. There have been booms and busts in the past. The Great Depression, the stock market crash, and ensuing global depression that some could say caused World War II. It's serious. That was 1929, and then going the oldest one I can see, and I've included a link to a description of it here, was in tulip bulb, like the flower, without even really factoring in the opium trade per se. This was really more for just rich folks wanting to have a nice garden. And then, of course, middle class people want to look like the rich folks, so they jump on the bandwagon. But yeah, like a tulips were trading for over like a 1 year period. It's in the article for like $150,000 per bulb in today's money. $150,000 per bulb. So the perceived value of a flower, became just, astronomical. And of course, it burst. Everybody realized, oh, this is crazy, and it went away. And you could say that we're kind of there with Bitcoin being $20,000. That was arguably crazy, but we'll see. Yeah, that's what you're writing about this week. Um, but I wanted to kind of compare what these cryptocurrencies are to a fiat currency. I have made the statement that cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, isn't backed by anything. It means nothing. Um, and most recently, my son, who is getting his MBA, was like, "Well, Dad, the United States dollar isn't backed by anything, but it is. It's backed by the government of the country that issues it, and depending on how much you trust the government that backs the currency and to manage it responsibly, is what governs international exchange rates for traditional government issued currencies. Um, many of which are pegged to the dollar. I know like in Panama, the Panamanian dollar is pegged to the U.S. dollar. it seems like when I was working in Jordan, the Jordanian dinar was the JD was pegged to the US dollar at a certain value, not necessarily one to one, but the exchange rate was pegged. So anyway, I'm not an economist, and I don't expect you guys to become economists in international uh, uh, currency exchanges. But I did want you to have some background, so I put a link in there about what a fiat currency is versus a currency that's backed by gold or some other. There have been currencies backed by silver. We used to have gold in Fort Knox for every dollar we issued, and it just became somewhat uh, um, untenable. And there we used to have gold coins. The value of the coin itself was the value of gold, and what you got was what you got, and that's not a fiat currency. That's actually, you could melt down gold and turn it into jewelry or turn it into a larger coin, but the weight of the coin pretty much dictated the value. So, but those are all examples of tangible assets as represented in their value and their perceived value, and going through cycles of boom and bust. So, what is Bitcoin in relation to these things? Um, um, First of all, it is accepted by businesses. I did a little googling this morning, and I was Starbucks, Subway, and they're in the early stages, so it's looking like you'll pay with an app that's linked to an exchange. Um, so yeah, check it out. There's all kinds of writing about cryptocurrency. There's just a great big interest item. Um, so I went on to cryptocompare.com to look at what's going on in the last week in the value of cryptocurrencies. And interestingly, this chart updates in real time. So the values were fluctuating somewhat right in front of me, but I did a screenshot from this morning, that shows, and then this VE chain. Ooh, it's only what, a penny a piece, right? 1.3 cents each. So why don't I buy them? You know what I mean? Their market cap's only 765 million. That's less than half of Bitcoin, so they could go through the roof, right? Anyway, and Ethereum is starting to get quite a bit of um, traction and action. But here are the top 10 traded cryptocurrencies. So why are these? When you're writing your paper this week, things to concentrate on. What's in it for the companies? Why are they accepting it, and how does it differ in their business model from a traditional cash uh, transaction? And specifically, if you can find out, if you can locate some sources, are they holding them, or are they converting them to conventional cash to be used in operation? Are they accepting them so that they can speculate on their value, versus mining or buying them straight out? Um, what's in it for these companies? What's the benefit to consumers, and what's the benefit to businesses? Why would you? Why would I convert my paycheck, because I'm still getting paid in good old US dollars, as are, I believe, all of you. Why would I pay, because you lose money in the exchange? Why would I convert my money to Bitcoin and then pay in Bitcoin? Why, as I'm just walking around and getting a cup of coffee at Starbucks? That doesn't seem like, even if you're day trading, even if you're micro trading and looking for micro fluctuations and getting in and out of the market, as many people were doing um, in the early 2000s, um, you wouldn't liquidate money from your TD trade or E-Trade account to buy a cup of coffee. You do it, at random during the day. Buy a cup of coffee. You would do it when the metrics of your investment protocol told you to buy and sell. So I'm interested to see what you guys come up with in your papers this week. This would be a great discussion. We'll talk more about things in future discussions. So there you go. Bitcoin economics. So your paper this week um, is about Bitcoin economics. So the first part has been in previous courses. You may see some material out there. There's certainly plenty of journal articles and practitioner information out there on the internet. So why are they accepting it, and why are some businesses rejecting the use of Bitcoin? And but I would like you to compare and contrast this with other cryptocurrencies. Some companies are not accepting Bitcoin, but they're adopting other cryptocurrencies. So why is that? And then, like I said, there's hundreds of major companies out there. Um, try not to use the top two, because I don't really like reading 12 of the same paper if I can. So dig a little deeper in identifying your companies and see what you come up with. But then part B, this is kind of new. And I don't need you necessarily to take a personal stand as to whether this is a fad that will fade or it's legitimate and it'll grow. You can use the research. You can back up. And I would like for you to include, a researcher or two that has put some academic rigor into the argument as to they're here to stay because, um, and then regardless of your choice, they're here to stay. It's a fad that will fade. Um, be very clear when you state the factors of uh, why they will stay. Bitcoin is around to stay because A, B, and C. That's how you construct a topic sentence. That's how you keep your reader engaged and on track, is by saying what you're going to say. Bitcoin is going to go away because one, reason two, reason three. And then you list reason one, two, and three. So try and work on the organization this week. And so you don't lose me. I'm not looking for a generic background on Bitcoin or a generic background on cryptocurrency. So you're going to want to outline your paper, and don't start writing a background and then you run out of energy. That's happened in other papers, and it's affecting your grades. So don't do that. Outline this paper and write it, plan it out, start to finish before you start writing, and I think you'll have better luck. Okay, so that's the research paper. Oh, my conclusion. I think I forgot. I think I still have the same conclusion as last week, so I'll stay off of that slide. So that's your paper, Bitcoin economics. I'm really eager to read these papers. And like I said, I'm kind of a doubter, so but don't worry about that. I'm just one person. You don't need to factor in my perceptions and biases into your paper. You go whichever direction you want to, and factor in some literature that sort of backs up your case, and you'll have a great paper. Okay, so everybody have a great week. There's extra resources in the slide speaker notes and out in the classroom. So everybody have a great week, and I'll email me if you have any questions. No discussion this week, so just shoot me an email if you have any questions.